Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What we go to eat no money, what we at you, eat no at you. Covid money, miss away in the year, look at you. Use the youth, the money, waste for most of man to statue. Say me like a catch you, but me got enough, they got you. Take the script of money, God and say that it's not you. One day, the man above him, up him, I got up. Too much eating at the kitchen, some of fly by like a patu. When singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me.
300% free.
It burn me.
Garbage pile of the day.
It burn me.
Give the teacher them raise.
It burn me.
I see corruption please.
It burn me.
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me.
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me.
Appear money them a thief.
It burn me.
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
For me say big up all the charities and all of the givers. Some a go like say them powerful, me no make a bigger. The already promises none of them not deliver. Cut up the youth and rapper they down in our river. Member bowl only and they lie them tell. Corruption smell and they pocket them swell. When police don't a market like Satan out of hell go mash up people start like thief when them sell.
It burn me.
On the chili market.
Boom! I mean, I say a couple to the flex they represent for Wayne Global TV. There. So I say, you know the code in the Wayne Global TV is what fully blessed on 90 days. So I say, yeah man, to the fullest. Yeah man, make sure them log in to Wayne Global TV. So I say, check it out. So I say, one cup of flex. So I say, Wayne Global. When you watch you know, feel my plan up and not try if you put them money pan we head. But man, I live too long, them want Wayne Global fitted. To him juggle so smooth that them want him life for dread. I through the bank, I like the break, but we ain't all about the bread. Open up on the ears and no listen when we said, cause we lyrics them so smooth like the linen on the bed. Them one with a fall, we live in pan the edge, I must say true, we make this them. We ain't Global TV, we are 90, hey. And 90, who Jaja bless, say no man can curse. Give me the Range Rover, who no drive years. Boom! We in Global TV to the fullest one cup of excellence. See me?
Good evening and welcome to Global Television Group. It is your Drive Time London program. We haven't been here for a while given the summer, but welcome to Drive Time London, Lunchtime Global. As I promised you, we're going to come back and look at the Zara Burton article this evening. Good evening to my community of party and all my family members, platform membership holders and moderators. Good evening, Debbie Jervis, Natalia Freeman, Arlene Foster. Good evening. Good evening, Sunshine. Good evening, Real Sweet. Audrey Robson, JC, Yvonne Riley, Deborah Lynn White, Yvonne Johnson, Rosie B, JC Jim Ashley, Kate M, Tony Tall, Yvonne Johnson, Conchigel 84, Monica Wills, Brenda Elson, Tony Tall, Mr. Friend. Good evening, all, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're not going to spend a lot of time. We're just going to listen to respond from Mark Golden, one with regards to his censorship, Susan Love Jesus, and the other with regards to the recent Police Federation conference that Peter Bunting was invited at and spoke to, and Horace Chang. Letter to Mark Golden and Mark Golden's response to Horace Chang. So We're just going to quickly listen to that. Then we go straight into the reading of Zara Burton article.
I have only ever worked in Jamaica. This is Mark Golding, President of the People's National Party and Leader of the Opposition. I was born in Jamaica. I grew in Jamaica. I have only ever worked in Jamaica, and I'm not leaving Jamaica, land we love. And I can tell you, I am not one of the illicit six, and my statutory declarations to the Integrity Commission have been certified and published for all years through to and including 2022, and my declaration for 2023 was filed in time by the March deadline in accordance with the law. God bless you all.
And now let's listen to his letter in response to Harris Chang.
National Party and Leader of the Opposition. On Tuesday, May 28, 2024, this is Mark Golding, President of the People's National Party and Leader of the Opposition. On Tuesday, May 28, 2024, I received a letter from the Minister of National Security, Dr. Harris Chang, making some complaints about remarks that were made by our spokesperson for national security, Senator Peter Bunting, at the recent Police Federation conference. Well, I replied to Minister Chang's letter today, Wednesday, May 29th, 2024, as follows. Dear Minister Chang, I acknowledge receipt of your letter dated May 28, 2024. These were the critical issues raised by our opposition spokesperson on national security, Senator Peter Bunting, at the recent Police Federation conference. 1. The unjust and unconstitutional interdiction of Police Federation Chairman Corporal Rohan James for advocating for compliance with the court order regarding overtime payments. That action appears to be a blatant attempt at union busting, demoralizing the rank and file, and...
Hold on there. Well, don't make we get into any little argument over the few like and share. You know it is important to the program. So make we do the decent thing and avoid the face-off between me and Uno. Let's continue.
Undermining the Federation's role as the advocate for police welfare. It raises serious questions about the accountability of the High Command, who failed to implement the court's directives promptly. 2. The JCF is a paramilitary organization operating under strict discipline where members cannot legally strike. Therefore, the Police Federation, effectively serving as a police union, is essential in advocating for officers' rights. The High Command's punitive actions against its leadership for performing this role are petty, vindictive, and intolerant. This is not just about one individual's disciplinary issue. It is about preserving the independence and effectiveness of the Federation and ensuring that all officers have robust representation free from undue influence. 3. We cannot allow a system where there is accountability for some and impunity for others. Your suggestion that public commentary on these issues crosses a line is misplaced and unfortunate. The opposition's advocacy is aimed at ensuring a fair and just system where the rights of police officers are upheld and where their leadership is empowered to advocate on their behalf without fear of retribution. I consider our spokesperson's remarks to be appropriate and in keeping with our constitutional responsibility to the Jamaican people, notwithstanding the apparent discomfort occasion to some who would prefer to leave the status quo undisturbed. When in opposition, we are obliged to remain vigilant and purposeful on fundamental matters such as those which are engaged by the situation on which Senator Bunting spoke. I take this opportunity to urge you to reconsider the actions taken against Corporal James, and also to address the broader issues of accountability within the High Command. The current approach is detrimental to the morale and effectiveness of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. We must work together to develop policies that enhance public safety, while always respecting the rights and welfare of those who serve. Yours sincerely, Mark Golding, Member of Parliament and Leader of the Opposition.
J.P. Laverne Baker, Sharon Bernard, Dorothy Elliott, good evening. What I would want to ask the Minister of National Security, would Peter Bunting's argument at the Police Federation conference be more of importance than a Minister of National Security for 8 years who have not implemented any meaningful crime policy? A Minister of National Security which WikiLeaks document link the minister to gangs. This Minister of National Security, which embassy cable to foreign offices abroad, UK and US, is suggestive, Yvonne Riley, of this Minister of National Security links to gang and corruption. This Minister of National Security, which I've held recorded, that where police officers are having serious conversation, Dr. Horace Chat, as to their discuss of your illegal shipment of a container of 200 AK-47s into Jamaica. Disperse them, Dr. Chan, in Flanker, Montego Bay. 3 coaster buses, Dr. Chan, were loaded in Montego Bay, Flanker, and sent somewhere else in Jamaica to be distributed. That, Dr. Chan, should be more something concerning to a Minister of National Security. Call the mainstream vloggers for me, please. I want to say to Zara Burton, thank you for your hard work, your dedicated investigative journalism. In some country, you would have been awarded for your outstanding work. But as we know how hocus pocus go in a field with politics. But to the mainstream vloggers, good evening to the team of mainstream vloggers out there. They which call themselves journalists. They who cannot ask a question without it's written and approved by an editor. Those whose questions are aligned to the pockets of their paymasters. Precious Alan. Yes, the mainstream bloggers. What a shame. Put the Triano Yasso together. Only don't make 1 ounce of Zara Burton. Not an ounce. When was the last time have you seen or heard any of these mainstream vloggers on screen investigate and expose politician or public figure? Remind me of the last time. So whether we are mainstream vloggers or we are social media vloggers, Michelle Lewis Wilson, all of us out here are vloggers because we just walk with news. We just analyze news. Isn't it, Miss Jackson? Hughes and Shields, primarily. Isn't it? Isn't it mainstream vlogging? What's the difference between mainstream vlogging and social media vlogging? Stacy. Put the Triano against Jamaica, queen of investigative journalism, an ounce on a lighter than a feather, featherweight journalism, copycat journalism, featherweight journalism, hearsay journalism. Try to be like the queen of investigative journalism, Jamaica's very own Zara Byrne, executive producer and host for the 18 Degrees North, ought to be celebrated for her hard boxing the Prime Minister into a corner work that none of you bootlicking, butt scratching, pocket picking, bowing before politicians, mainstream vloggers would never have the nerve, Ubuntu, to do. Bunch of sellouts, bunch of hypocrites, bunch of pay to carry false news and narratives, bunch of paid to keep your contracts, bunch of paid because politician maybe are pushing up in a corner. You are the arm of the Constitution that hold public servant to account. You, the media, yes. When a job never come, so they are walk and scratch politician butt, lying in bed with them and picking their pockets. That's not what the journalism core was meant for. You was meant to educate, inform, and entertain the people. Not even entertainment. You can't manage these days because everything about flop and flat. But we're going to get on with what we come here for do. Because we have questions to ask the Prime Minister, but we don't know where my walk and hide where. Yes. We're going to ask Prime Minister Crin some questions. Oh dear. Good evening. Sig, how are you? Tony Tall, JP, Wagwan. Like and share the live, please. Only 183 of you on the global, on the producer wheel channel. And only 60 that you like the live. Like seriously? Come on, do better. Do better. All right. Get on a pen and paper and pay attention, because we're going to read through Zara Burton's article. Prime Minister Holness offshore company that held his Beverly Hills property in Jamaica is dissolved. Listen to this, because we have questions to ask. The Prime Minister Holness offshore company that held his Beverly Hills mansion property in Jamaica is dissolved. What question would that spark in your mind? What question would that spark in your mind if the company owning or that held the property that the Prime Minister lives in Beverly Hills is dissolved? What question would that raise? Anyway, we're going to read politicians and their offshore companies. We're going to read. Years after the ownership structure of Prime Minister Holness' Beverly Hills home in Jamaica came under scrutiny for its ability to avoid taxes, the property located at Shenstone Drive now has a new title holder. Its former owner, the St. Lucian offshore entity ADMAT Incorporated, has been dissolved. So if ADMAT did own the Beverly Hills property, ADMAT no longer exists because it's been dissolved. Now, who holds the registered title? Let me see what happened. The International Business Company was set up in February 2008, while Mr. Holness held office as Minister of Education. And according to statement in 2016 by him and his attorney, Patrick Bailey, Holness was ADMAT only director. And he and his then underage son, Adam and Matthew, were the only shareholders. Underage. ADMAT was dissolved in or around December 2021, about 6 months after St. Lucia activated new rules requiring all international business companies to have real economic substance in St. Lucia, like having a physical premises and an adequate number of in-country qualified employees in order to maintain IBC status, which allows for income earning outside that country to be exempt from tax within St. Lucia. So this long-winded sentence here is indicating that the Prime Minister would have registered ADMAT in St. Lucia as a shell company, because it has no, if he dissolved the company before these new rules came in, it means the Prime Minister company didn't have a physical address in St. Lucia, nor was he employing staffs in St. Lucia. The purpose of doing this, it would be purely for avoiding tax or avoiding scrutiny. Which is it, Prime Minister, or is it both? Was it trying to avoid tax, or were you trying to avoid scrutiny? And we don't know what you're up to, you know. So when these companies are registered, which doesn't have a physical address, okay, the company can be registered in St. Lucia, but when you're registering a company, even though if I'm registering it to my physical address here, I can pay a fee to have it registered at a company that publicly doesn't have anything to do with my address. So this is how you can register these things. So it's a similar way of the shell company. It can be registered in St. Lucia, but it's actively operating in Jamaica under a physical address, under a virtual address in St. Lucia, but it's physically doing business in Jamaica, but it's avoiding paying tax in Jamaica. A company St. Lucia's activity, however, would now be taxed at local rate 30%. Previously, ICBs were prohibited from doing business with residents in St. Lucia, which include buying immovable properties. So this is the dissolution notice for ADMAT Incorporated. It was filed on December 14th, 2021. And after they accept it, there is a 30-day period where if you don't get further requirement, because I had a company which I've dissolved before. If there's no further legal requirement for you, after 30 days, the company is dissolved and is gazetted. Right, let's continue reading on. The new rules were implemented by St. Lucia, so it could be removed from a list of non-cooperative jurisdiction for tax purposes by the European Union, which urged that St. Lucia tax regime was among several in the Caribbean amid at attracting profit that do not reflect real economic activity in the jurisdiction. So what the European Union has said, because all of these people were registered, them hidden, galanging in a St. Lucia to avoid tax in a for them country. The amount of company were registered in a St. Lucia, and you would be think they're doing active business in St. Lucia, it's not reflective of the economic reality in the St. Lucian jurisdiction, because them just register there, but them are do business other places. The criticism was that allowing companies to incorporate with mere PO boxes address was leading to harmful tax competition, which threatened the corporate tax revenue of EU member states. St. Lucia remaining unless could have potentially dissuaded foreign companies and investors from doing business in the Caribbean nation. So, not just Andrew Holness, lot of company in Europe and America use places like St. Lucia and a lot of other tax haven in the Caribbean to avoid tax in the country where they actually do physical business. There's two limbs to how that is done. There is an issue of tax avoidance, which is legal in the UK. If your accountant skill, let know how to do the wriggle room, to avoid paying tax. On the other hand, you have what is called tax evasion, which is a crime. So, these offshore companies, these offshore tax havens, them allow these multinationals to avoid taxes. It's not clear whether ADMAT has derived any tax benefit from the solution, but ADMAT did opt to be exempted from income tax. Its application document shows that means if no change had been made since inception, St. Lucia wouldn't have tax income generated in Jamaica by ADMAT, for example, but depending on type of income, ADMAT may still have been required to pay tax in Jamaica. So see what I explain? So the application to incorporate and register. So if you notice here, where these two boxes are, where the Prime Minister tick X to be exempt from income tax. dated 14th of February. So, ADMAT Incorporated. Remember, Andrew is the sole director, and him two underage son are shareholders. Keep up with it, you know. Wanna keep up with it. Have on a book and pen. Keep up with it. Share the live and call crowd. Keep up with it. Right, so that was the incorporated document where the Prime Minister applied to be exempt from income tax. Bangarang, see the Bangarang party, I know. Women just go read, but can't go no analysis span. Number there, hey, number there. Eh? And I know when they don't see number. Dizzy as grasshopper. While actively registered in St. Lucia, between 2008 and 2011, ADMAT, yes, next time, ADMAT bought the land on which the Sherstone Drive house was eventually built, and at least two other Jamaican properties for around 57.1 million Jamaican dollars, equivalent to 692 million. You see the US money on the screen, they can't call it. Anything, maybe. That one, $692,478 if I saw it go. For all three without any listed mortgage, raising question about where the money came from, Prime Minister. Given that over the last 10 years, over the last 8 years, a fraction of $1.7 trillion have been unaccounted for in the office of the Prime Minister. Let we continue read. Remember, we are done, sir. During that time, Mr. Holness' salary as a Prime Minister was averaging around 5.2 million Jamaican dollars per year, equivalent to 62,513 US dollars annually, not accounting allowance. Because you know them have the thing them where they claim for this, so they thief money. Just like how they said Dal Wimple, they are thief the money over the BMW where she get the concession for, and then after she get the concession, she'll get allowances, so she'll drive the car while her sister a Coast Road in a BMW all about. ADMAT properties. Stay with it. And the Prime Minister business, stay with it. Carl Crowd. We're still stuffy, but we are go to it this evening. Carl Crowd. Carl Crowd. And tell the mainstream vlogger them say they figure sit down and take a read out of Zara Burton's book. Mainstream vloggers. Right. ADMAT properties. Arcadia apartment. Purchase date September 2020. September 2008. Property purchase price 16 million Jamaican dollars, the equivalent of 219,449 US dollars. Whitecliff Close land in Beverly Hills. February 2009, 15.275 million US equivalent, $173,029 if I saw it go. Shenstone Drive, land in Beverly Hills where a house was later constructed. July 2011 purchase date. Purchase price 25.824 million Jamaican dollars. 300,000 US dollars equivalent. Totaling 57,000.099 million. The construction costs of the Beverly Hills mansion between 2012 to 2015 52.6 million Jamaican dollars, 502,964 US dollars. Yes, totaling 109 million in property purchase and development. 109 million Jamaican dollar. 1.19 million US dollars. If I so go. Make we continue reading. We'll see the amount of business where ADMAT do at Jamaica, the amount of millions where ADMAT run through Jamaica, but ADMAT does St. Lucia. Though, we want to get some of the drift now. And what if ADMAT did involved in any money washing? Yeah, he ADMAT. I wonder if ADMAT involved in money washing. We have to take time with me, we have to tap and catch breath. But we are going through it this evening. According to a statement put out by Prime Minister Holness in 2016, he also spent an additional 52.6 million Jamaican dollars building the Sherstone House over 4 years. The Shenstone House over 4 years, beginning in 2012. That amount, he stated, was financed by savings, salary, bank loans, and supplier credit. Would you be able, Prime Minister, to show proof of the amount of your salary that has gone into the Sherstone Drive property? The amount of bank loan took and from which bank? And which supplier supplied you credit? Could it be the Bricknell brothers? Just asking, could the creditor, Prime Minister, be the Bricknell brothers? Which bank? How much loan? How much of your salary? Mr. Holness' finance will be further explored in a later story. Boy, the way Hozara have your pin to the wall, Prime Minister. What happened to the 3 known Jamaican property owned by ADMAT? After purchasing the land in 2011, on which Shenstone Drive House was built, the registration of ADMAT lapsed for a non-payment of annual fee. Almighty God, sir, you go just make everybody walk on this upon student loan. You're delinquent, you know, sir. Upon student loan days. Anyway, we could start minding business. A St. Lucian court document seen by 18 Degrees North showed that it was ordered restored upon application made and payment of penalty fee amount to $5,550 US. The registry in St. Lucia stamped the application November 1st, 2021, certifying its registration as being effective for the year 2011 to 2021. Upon restoration, it was deemed never to have been struck off the register. It was during this brief window of restoration between November 2021 and December 2021 that ADMAT transferred ownership of the Shenstone Drive house by way of gifting, hey, compuncheros, hey, oi, by way of gifting, you see, trust law is a law of criminality for rich people, oi. It was this brief window of restoration between November 2021 and December 2021, that 1 month period, that ADMAT transferred ownership of the Shenstone Drive house by way of gift on 10th November 2021 to Imperium Investment Holding, a company registered in Jamaica. In June 2020, and whose purpose is investment in assets of all classes. Imperium sole director and shareholder is Andrew Holness, who hold 600 of the 1,000 ordinary shares. The remaining 400 shares are unallotted according to records at Company House of Jamaica. So what the Prime Minister, when Lara threw him against the wall, in that lapse period when the St. Lucia court sanctioned him for non-payment, the Prime Minister transferred the property by gift. It is now a gift. What are the tax implications to a gift? Me don't know. It wasn't a part of my legal syllabus. Just like companies law wasn't a part of my legal syllabus either. So I don't to understand them area, the period. Even though in my mini library at home, I have all the different books on corporate company, insolvency, and all tax and all sort of law, but I just don't in-depth look at those areas. So I have very little understanding of tax and corporate law. I have a slight understanding of commercial law, but not the corporate structure. That same month, on November 4th, 2021, ADMAT also transferred another Beverly Hill property at Whitecliff Close in Jamaica, also by way of gift to Estate Bridge Development Limited, a company registered in Jamaica in July 2020 for the construction, repair, and alteration of building. Estate Bridge has as its shareholder Mr. Holness, Imperium Investment, which owns 401, 4,001 of the 10,000 share. His son, Adam, hold 2,000. His sister holds 2,000. Norman Brown in Montego Bay own 999 shares remain unallotted. Mr. Brown is also chairman of the government-owned housing agency for Jamaica under Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, reported to Mr. Holness, who is the minister's presiding minister. Jesus Christ. So is it now that Norman Brown has double responsibility as the chair? Away there, sir. As the chair of housing agency and as the chair of the UDC. I want to go on with Holness and him friend them and business partner them. Why you don't find something in a government give your sister for do, sir? It's a family affair. But what if you're following the timeline Holness seemed to have done here? Once the questioning started from Zara Burt, him try to swindle him way back into. We don't know how the criminality of law. We don't stay there if you can't give to yourself. You see, what you need to understand, the companies that Andrew Holness created have a legal personality separate to Andrew Holness. They're two different persons. And remember, ADMAT was different from Andrew Holness, and that I don't remember. So Andrew Holness took his house to himself. A legal entity of Andrew Holness, ADMAT, gave a house to a legal entity, another legal entity of Andrew Holness, Imperial Investment and Estate Bridge. Understand and understand the criminality of law, especially trust and corporate law. Hey, crime. Hey. Now make me continue. Read Zara Burton's investigation. So if you notice, the company them created 2020. The Jamaica company them. And it transferred the properties from ADMAT by gift. You don't understand the crime of the law. I don't care which legal scholar, or legal hobnob, or legal scrub, one disagree with me. The criminality of the law, tax law, corporate law, I want to know trust law. Hey, rich people crime here, them here. Them they are rich people, criminal playground. Them areas they are flaw. Corporate law, tax law, and trust law. The law of trust. Blind trust, secret trust, private trust, express trust. Unatande. Unatande. White collar chopping. The crime of the law. We're going to continue. The third property ADMAT bought in 2008, an apartment in Arcadia, St. Andrew, had been purchased for 16 million Jamaican dollars and sold 8 years later in 2016 for 16.5 million Jamaican dollars. As previously reported by 18 Degrees North, the purchaser were a medical doctor. Is it Kianja Barrett? And a field supervisor, Duran Murray. Reached by phone, Mr. Murray refused to comment on the record as 18 Degree North tried to understand whether there was a relationship between Miss Barrett and Mr. Holness, or his wife, and why ADMAT would have sold the apartment at a loss in US dollar term of $87,597 US dollars, even before transaction fee. That's the Arcadia conundrum. It's also not clear how the Arcadia apartment transaction was allowed to go through in 2016, since the registrar in St. Lucia confirmed to 18 Degree North that before restoration in 2021, ADMAT have been consistently struck off with no restoration between since 2012. According to St. Lucia International Business Company Act, a struck off company and its director may not legally commence legal proceeding, carry on any business, or in any way deal with the asset of the company. When asked if it would have been allowed for Arcadia transaction to go through, the registrar in St. Lucia wrote that a matter for the Jamaican authority to respond to. However, 18 Degree North reached out to Jamaica Land Agency, which is the local property authority for property transaction. It did not respond. The National Land Agency and the Prime Minister conundrum. The National Land Agency falls under the Minister of Growth and Job Creation, which Andrew Holness presides over. Prime Minister Holness answered when asked how ADMAT was able to sell the Arcadia apartment if ADMAT was struck off at the time. Mr. Bailey, the attorney who landed the transaction for ADMAT back then, told 18 Degree North recently that he wasn't aware that the company had been struck off in St. Lucia and that the National Land Agency only requires some of the time that a company shows its activity before being allowed to deal with land transaction. While trying to find the attorney for the buyer to ask a similar question, 18 Degree North learned she's now deceased. A company's attorney in Jamaica who chose not to be named said in 2016, Arcadia transaction would have considered void had ADMAT not been restored. I want that would go on, yes, Prime Minister, if there was any underhand ruckusing going on in the sale of the Arcadia property. ADMAT paid transfer tax and stamp duty. Transfer tax and stamp duty, the two most significant government cesses, were paid for each of the land transfer during the transfer document. The first property sold in 2016 for 16 million, the Arcadia, the Arcadian property, in transfer tax, was assessed and paid 660,000 Jamaican dollars in stamp duty and a total of 1.485 million in hold on. Yeah, 825,000 in transfer tax and 660,000 in stamp duty, that totaling to 1.485 million Jamaican dollars, just over 11,000 US dollars. The property transfer tax rate then was 5% of the sale price and 4% for stamp duty. When ADMAT set up in 2008, the prevailing rate was higher at 7.5% for transfer tax and 5.5% for stamp duty. They began to lower under Bruce Golding administration. Had the February 2008 rate been around at the time, this sale in 2016, ADMAT would have paid 1.7 million in transfer and property tax. The seller is usually responsible for all the transfer tax and half of the stamp duty. In 2019, the Holness-led administration fulfilled a campaign promise of his and lowered the property transfer tax rate even further to 2% from 5% and instituted a minimal flat fee for stamp duty. So, Uno Sisse, the Prime Minister, has set up things for when him are doing business. In another interview on the campaign trail during the 2016 general election, the opposition leader Andrew Holness told 18 Degree North he would reduce transaction tax as a way of increasing velocity of transaction to spur economic growth, particularly in areas like real estate and construction. While the available statistics have shown that more value has been added to the economy from those areas since then, this policy decision would end up providing significant saving for the Prime Minister, for Mr. Holness ADMAT Incorporated when it transfers its other properties to Jamaica in 2021. Hope I save it. For example, instead of paying a 9 million in tax transfer based on Jamaica tax, based on Jamaica February 2008 rate of 7.5, assuming the years of sale value were the same, the transfer of the Shenstone Drive house from ADMAT to Imperium in 2021 cost ADMAT 2.4 million in transfer tax, which is at 2% of the government assessed value of 120 million. In stamp duty, ADMAT could have ended up paid 3.3 million based on the vendor being responsible for half the rate that was applicable in 2008. Instead, only 100 Jamaican dollar, equivalent to, see here, sir, US 66 cents, were assessed for the whole transaction under the new regime. Me call them figure here right. Them figure here me highlight. Me call them right. That a 100 Jamaica dollar in it. Or 66 cents. Oh Jesus, how far me can go with this. But me I got done it, you know, me dey about halfway, me I got done it. For the transfer of property at Wycliffe Close to Estate Bridge Development Limited in 2021, only 760,000 in transfer tax, and 100 Jamaican dollar, 66 US cent in stamp duty ended up being assessed and paid on the valuation of 38 million Jamaican dollars, 250,000 so and so US, put forward by ADMAT that was accepted by the government. Hey! Andrew put this thing forward to itself and Andrew accepted. What's wrong with that? What a crime. Under the February 2008 regime, ADMAT would have been subjected to a much higher amount of transfer tax and stamp duty together of 3.9 million Jamaican dollars. 4 townhouses are now being constructed on the property, which, if they end up being sold, will also result in Estate Bridge paying transfer and stamp duty at low rate. City construction at the townhouse them upon Wycliffe Close, one of the Prime Minister property development. Signing the transfer document for ADMAT to Beverly Hill property were Andrew Holness as director, Adam Holness as company secretary. While on a visit to Jamaica, signing for Imperium Investment Holdings was Andrew Holness as director and Donovan Williams as company secretary. For Estate Bridge Development, it was Adam Holness who signed as director and Donovan Williams as secretary. So it's a family and friend criminal affair. Mr. Williams was also, Mr. Williams was also the attorney that handled both transactions, and it was current and is a current member of parliament in Holness, Jamaica Labour Party for the Kingston Central constituency. He is also the brother of Mayor Feather down there. Feather, Delroy Williams, with the Holy baby mother, the outgoing mayor of Kingston. So, if not to avoid transfer tax, what was the purpose of having had ADMAT? If it wasn't for the purpose of avoiding transfer tax, what was the purpose of having had ADMAT? No, sir. We don't know some of the Prime Minister are criminal, though. We don't know that. Every case and done read because he knows a bad at me. The total amount that could have been assessed in transfer tax and stamp duty for all three properties, around 17.9 million, may begin to paint a picture of how much money Holness and his family could have saved on Jamaica taxes if all ADMAT assets have been sold or transferred in one swoop while Holness was alive and before lowering of the tax transfer and stamp duty rate, and before St. Lucia changed its international business company law. That is because with St. Lucia IBC, its shares can pass to other persons or entity without a title to a physical underlying asset being changed. So in that case, there was no transfer from one entity. My mouse dead, hold on. There was no transfer. In that case, there was no transfer from one entity to another. So you save on transfer tax and stamp duty and those sort of things. Mr. Bailey Holness, then attorney, explained to 18 Degree North in 2006. As a result of the recent changes, St. Lucia now has a stamp duty when passing the shares of an IBC to a beneficiary. In the interview with 18 Degree North in 2016, Mr. Holness said he is a small government free enterprise person who believe that market work best and that taxes are distortionary. At the time, properties belonging to him and his wife or ADMAT have been listed as owing property tax for several years. And it was only after 18 Degree North brought it to Mr. Holness' attention that they were paid. They were listed as owing again as of last week, but only for the last year. I make money hard to come out of the Holness them hands, so. Huh? You mean say everyone a Holness business them, so there's late payment? Huh? In the interview, Holness also said, you should explain your estate and plan for tax the best way possible. However, he maintained in the same interview that ADMAT was merely set up to hold asset for estate planning and never to avoid any kind of tax. Convenient answer. Even if ADMAT had been set up for estate planning, tax expert contacted by 18 Degree North say these structure can reduce tax that would have been due, which ADMAT was set up in 2008, about 7.5% of the estate value, around 3% of stamp duty. The primary home is usually exempt from transfer tax, but because with Mr. Holness' son Adam and Matthew having already been shareholder in ADMAT, there would have been no need to transfer the title to physical asset upon their father's death to their name, because they have already been beneficial owners of ADMAT that own the property. Additionally, if Mr. Holness had willed his portion of ADMAT to his wife, Juliet, she would merely become a shareholder of ADMAT. Again, there would have been no need to change title to physical property. While one tax professional in St. Lucia, Richard, maintained there is nothing wrong with persons in their financial and tax planning using a jurisdiction that provides them with a mechanism to get the best return of their investment. Jamaica Civil Society Group, Carl, suggests 18 Degree North in 2016 that the leader of the country should be trying to avoid taxes. Especially, hold on, bear me 1 second, the people. Oh, I'm going in there. Let me drink a little water. Especially if you are a prime minister and you are telling citizens that they need to conform to the regulatory environment that you have designed, that you need to think you can adhere to because it is inimical to your interests to adhere to it, or inimical to the interest of the children future to adhere to it, then there is a major inconsistency there and need to explain, she said. Let me take a quick break and I'll join you back shortly.
Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scallion, we can't buy time. You can't fool me again. Can't fool me again. You can't fool me again. Hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. You touch up line and a resort to crime. You can't fool me again.
What people do in no money, what they at you, in no at you. Go be money, miss away in the year little rat you. Use the youth, them on them waste, must have anti-statue. Say me like a catch you, but bigger than a figure you. Take the spint of money, girl, and say that it's not you. One day the man above end up, him a got a bet. Too much it in the kitchen, some a fly well like a patu. When singers and DJs and social media's coming at you.
It burn me.
300% raise.
It burn me.
Garbage youth pile up the day.
It burn me.
Give the teacher them raise.
It burn me.
I see corruption face.
It burn me.
Mash down the people them house.
It burn me.
Every day appear arms out.
It burn me.
Appear money them a thief.
It burn me.
And them a sell out the beach.
Can't for me again. You can't for me again. You hold me down for a very long time. Can't buy sugar, we can't buy lime. Can't buy scandal, we can't buy time. You can't for me again. Can't for me again.
Thank you for bearing with me. Welcome back, and let's throttle through this thing. The reason for an offshore company. With the property having been transferred while Mr. Holness is alive and transfer taxes have been paid in Jamaica, it is unclear the benefit that Mr. Holness would have derived from having had ADMAT. However, outside of Jamaican property known to 18 Degree North, it is not clear what other asset ADMAT may have had that could have resulted in tax benefit. And Mr. Holness did not answer a question when asked about whether ADMAT had owned other assets outside of the 3 properties known to 18 Degrees North. Having an offshore company isn't illegal in Jamaica, and using such structure can be legitimate, like having an investment fund run by various individuals from different locations and that need a tax neutral location, or providing financial privacy to someone who lives in volatile jurisdiction where having a bank account flush with cash can make you a target of criminals. But in some circumstances, offshore companies have been used as a vehicle for money laundering by nefarious actors and others for hiding assets. Even with recent changes to the IBC law in St. Lucia, the public cannot know who the director of and shareholder of an IBC are, unless the person behind the IBC specifically make that information public, and ADMAT did not do so. There is no indication that ADMAT engages in any nefarious activity or hid asset, and Mr. Holness, then attorney Patrick Bailey, was adamant in 2016 that all the Prime Minister assets, including in ADMAT, were declared to the Integrity Commission in keeping with Jamaican law. But members of the public cannot know if that is accurate, because the Integrity Commission doesn't make the specifics of those parliamentary disclosure public. When 18 Degree North, when told by 18 Degree North about the dissolution of ADMAT, Dr. Canute Thompson, who sits on various committees of rival People's National Party and has long criticized Mr. Holness for owning offshore companies, say he was curious about the motivation. If the motivation is as a result of epiphany that is rooted in the view that he headed, that as head of government, this was not the right thing to do, then I would celebrate that, said Dr. Thompson, who maintained that no parliamentarian should register a company exclusively offshore. he would be paid tax at the standard rate that other Jamaicans, he would be paid tax at the standard rate of other Jamaican taxpayers. But with the move to transfer Shenton's property, Shenton's Drive house to ADMAT, from ADMAT to Imperium Investment in Jamaica, rather than transferring it to himself, two tax experts said that Mr. Holness' tax liability may now be more than just standard. That is because if he lives in the house, he uses Shenstone Drive as his address, and a Beverly Hill residents confirm that he does live there. The tax authority would see him as receiving from Imperium a housing benefit, which would then be subjected to income tax of 30% plus and any other payroll taxes. The experts say there would have been no additional tax liability had the house been transferred to his own name. As far as the transfer of Wycliffe Close property to from ADMAT to Estate Bridge, tax experts say any income generated from this property will now be subjected to Jamaica corporate tax at 25% since the new owner is a company. We're not going to read the editorial notes to the people because we're seriously block up. We're just going to read the final paragraph. In the comment, this article is linked in the description area. There's an article also with regards to Gavin, I remember his first name, Robert Gavin, and his contract, his government contracts. And the link to the YouTube press conference for yesterday, if you want to have a look into that, is in the description area. So if you want to read the editorial notes, you can just refer to the link and catch yourself up with that. So let me read you the final paragraph. Mr. Holness didn't respond when asked whether the 4 townhouses being built at the Wycliffe Close will end up being for sale or whether he or Imperium have been paid tax on housing benefit he received from Imperium for living in the Beverly Hills mansion. Neither did he respond when asked about reason for ADMAT, that why ADMAT was dissolved, or whether he currently owned any other offshore company. ADMAT liquidator wrote that the entity had been dissolved as per instruction received, but would not say how, would not say who the instruction came from. So there you have it. If you have not read it for yourself, I have taken the time to go through it with you. To those who joined while I was reading, thank you all very much for being here. We don't really have the time to call no out now. Don't take it personal. When we come back later, me will soon. May I go take a rest and clear my nose again, so we come back for something else later. Before me go, we're just looking at Gleaner if anything come through. Let's see if they don't message me. If anything comes to on any of the rulings, U.S. sanction urge against on Parliament, blah, blah, blah. Police seeking man after seizure. Oh, yes. And I did mean to say that the killing of this 3-year-old, that the family was allegedly attacked by a man of an unsound mind, and a 3-year-old was chopped to death. There come a time when certain incidents in our society forces us to review a particular part of our legislative mechanism. It is the time we review, yes, in St. Mary. I think the time has come that we review our law to deal with the mentally unsound, how we deal with them, how we reassess how people with mental health are being sectioned. At what point do we see them as danger to themselves or danger to others? Incidents like this, Ministry of Health and the government calls for a reassessment of our mental health laws and how we implement and the operational strategy. More facilities around the country. This is the time for us to review our mental health law with people of unsound mind still being in the public. Thank you very much for being here this evening. Join us back later when we will continue to look at all the issues that is rampaging in our country. Hopefully those ruling or anything coming from the court. TAJ declares, hold on there, Tax Administration of Jamaica, following Tuesday's announcement that Tax Administration of Jamaica will be spending $1 billion to retrofit property lease in Greenvale, Manchester. The tax body has provided details on the proposed expenditure as it urged that the upgrade work is necessary and the revelation of the planned $1 billion spend has triggered concern that government decision to spend a significant sum it did not own. We will look further into that story later. Hold on. I just want to say all eyes on the Vibes Cartel application pending murder trial. Right, no come down from the cartel hearing yet, so join us back later as we will pick up on the day's story. Thank you very much and good afternoon from Global Television.